All right, back down here in the Chiefs pit, Timmy Petty, Mark Petty, Richie Petty. We're going to be discussing different folks that came through here. We were lucky when we were kids to be around some great people. And I guess a lot of people always refer to this as Petty University, right?
I've heard people say that, yeah.
Because they trained a lot of the crew chiefs and a lot of the good workers that went everywhere. And we were fortunate to be around some good people, wasn't we? Yeah,
For sure.
So, do you want to start it off, Timmy?
Well, first of all, you got to mention who the professors were.
Oh, yeah, that's
which,
true.
They started late 40, 49, and then later on, I'd say Lee would be the professor to the students.
Right.
Then later on, Ken Myler came, what year? Probably 57, 8, 9?
55, 56.
He came out early?
Well, 57. He came with Oldsmobiles.
Which is our
57.
grandfather.
Yeah,
We mentioned that before.
He came with Oldsmobiles.
Okay. So we'll just say somewhere around 57. So he would be definitely one of the professors here. And then, fast forward a little bit, to our knowledge, would be probably 64 season.
Now, you're talking about the Lee and Pop Red. They would have been teaching Richard and Mars.
Right.
Yeah.
Who would later become professors as well.
I like
But
this.
you got to go
Yeah.
through, and that's yeah, exactly. So then around 64ish, and we was trying to figure out when Jake Elder came, who was a big name.
Right.
And what this is leading into is who came here for ever so brief or a long period of time and became crew chiefs or part of another successful championship team.
Big names in racing.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are all people that we know of, and there's probably, we'll miss some today.
We're not going to get everybody. There's so many people that came through here, and we'll have to do another episode on different folks. But these are some of the ones that we've just kind of...
So what would you call in a university sort of one of the first years of being in a university? I'm going to say it was 64.
Yeah, it'd be like your freshman year.
Because here's who you had. You had Dale Inman, Jake Elder, Gene Petty.
Oh, Gene, yeah.
Who, his dad was already doing some racing, but still, he went through 2 Petty years.
Yeah, he did. He went through Julian Lee.
So, yeah. And then, later on, I don't know exactly, Richie Bars came later, but some of these guys had already been working and with some limited or lots of success at other places.
Well, the thing was, early 60s, there wasn't a lot of people here working.
Right.
And then as time went on, more people came in.
And some people work here for a good period of time and never really went nowhere.
Right.
That's how
like
they stayed.
68 or so when Wade Thornburg came in here after
Yeah,
the service.
he was a different category, but still, he
Right, but I'm
came.
saying
The
he was-
Loyals.
Yeah, and they made him
Sure.
stay here forever.
Or lifers.
Yeah, petty
I
life.
mean, and no offense,
No,
but
that's
I mean,
right.
and thank God they did. I mean, they were great
Amen.
folks to be working with. And look at the knowledge we gained out of everyone. Everyone we've mentioned, we've learned something from,
Yes.
no matter how big or small.
And then a lot of these guys, I know.
I don't mean to take it over.
No, I know. No, it's fine. You're doing great. But a lot of these guys, too, when they left here and they went to these other places, they trained these other guys that sred out.
And some of them
It's
started their own
And
businesses,
there's still guys today that are still tied back to the Petties.
which I don't know exactly when Tex Powell, and we got to stay with this because there's another fellow that don't get mentioned a lot, which was Tex Warren Prout.
Yeah. Well,
And
see,
I don't know if they worked together at Bud Moore's or not, but a lot of these guys came from the Trans Am program through Bud.
but also with Warren Prout, he was in business with Jim Pascal. And Jim Pascal was a driver that came through here in the 60s that won a lot of races for
That
the Petties.
Lee had admired, and
But Warren was tied in with him. They actually owned a car together for one time.
so Ed Blanton, I didn't write his name down, but he was another guy that came with that trio. Or, I don't know if they came together, and we're a little confused.
I think I remember Tex saying that Tex and Ed came at the same time, but
But Warren,
Warren was in and
did
out.
he come before or after? Nobody knows. I mean, somebody does.
But
we don't.
Warren Prout, he was one of those guys that really didn't go on to become a crew chief, but he was a guy that influenced a lot of crew chiefs.
And he was behind the scenes and very knowledgeable of all aspects of a car, race car. Anyway, yeah, for sure, Warren Prout. All right, so then, I guess probably Barry Dotson would be the next on my hit list. of somebody that came here as a kid, worked here, and when he left, he was a part of a championship team several times.
Yeah. Very successful.
And team manager.
Won a lot of races with different people with Rusty
and,
Wallace.
And all the Dodsons we're all lifelong friends. So then you got Steve Mill. Well, I'm gonna back up. We got another guy who didn't really become a crew chief that I know of, but he was a part of some championship teams, which is Wayne Dalton, who was a really good body man, pit man. You know, a lot of times you don't mention. A lot of times you kept a guy because he was a great pit crew guy. Could jack, could gas, could interject, or put him in any role. You know what I'm saying?
And he could work on the car.
So,
now Wayne, he was like you said, he worked up there in the body shop, and then
him and Barry had their own body shop, and a lot of times they sent things down there to him.
But that's like I remember Wayne through the years, but yeah, he was a
Now that era, Barry, Wayne, Billy Biscoe would be in that era.
Yep.
Right?
I got him. Right? He was right under that. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Billy was involved in a lot of different teams, and he helped me and Mark when we was doing our late model stuff when we started. But Billy was influential. I guess he went to Junior Johnson's and worked there for a while, did some things, and
had his own little business.
Oh yeah,
like
still
for short track,
and still
short track program.
Yeah, I think he's still involved with the short track stuff over there with us.
All right, so we've just probably got out of the '70s, and we, by all means, we're not keeping this on the
No, it ain't no
chronological
timeline. It's just
order,
names that we've got kind of wrote down.
And these are all people we still admire and are friends to this day. So you got Steve Mill, Mike Beam.
Oh, Steve Mill. That was a big name that came through here because he went on, and I know if you're racing, you know the name Steve Mill, but he's the one to help Jack Roush build over here in Liberty the Roush Racing.
Interesting fact about
success in between that as well.
Steve is some kind of mathematical genius. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you can give him any number and he's spitting out faster than a calculator.
Les Bars said the other day that Steve Mill and Richie and a few others, they would race 7 days a week if they could. They loved it so much. So.
For sure. Did we say all right? So we just said Mike Beam, who's become a team manager in recent years. Robin Pemberton, who was a very successful crew chief at several places other than here.
Well,
and worked for NASCAR.
And Robin was like a vice president of competition for NASCAR about 10
That's
years
right.
ago. So
I almost forgot about that fact.
He worked his way up to the ranks.
So at the same time, when Robin came along, he had a co-crew chief by the name of Larry Pollard from Canada.
Right.
And he became somewhat of a short track driver or bush driver. And he got hurt somewhere.
He's Charlotte.
He was actually pretty good.
That was during the tire wars.
Big old guy.
Oh yeah, during the tire wars, everybody was blowing tires and wrecking them.
Charlotte or Dover?
It might have been Dover. Yeah.
But either way, he got hurt.
Whatever. He hit the wall during them tire war deals.
And Larry was just a gentle giant. He was a good guy. And
he still is a good guy.
So then, right along the same time, you had two guys by the name of Tony Glover.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And Kelly Hunt was here about the same time.
Yeah, Glover went on with the 4-car.
Up in Abington.
Had a lot of success up there with Sterling
Morgan McClure Racing.
Yeah, he had a lot of. But his dad, Tony's dad,
he had already been a racer.
Right, he was a champion.
Gene Glover.
Yeah, he was a champion in the
nowadays
Sportsman Series. Yes,
Xfinity now, but I still say Busch. I'm still stuck on Busch.
But Tony had a lot of success at the 4-car with Sterling.
All right, so with Kelly's been a part of,
and Ernie Irvin too, because he had a lot of success there with him.
Yep, that's right.
But you mentioned this, and I had forgotten this, that Kelly went on to be a crew chief at the Melling camp after obviously the Elliots, and they was out of
late '90s.
Yeah, there was several. They tried to do several different drivers and teams, but Kelly he was crew chief there. And gosh, I don't remember the year of that, but.
And a guy that helped us a lot with our late models and came along in the 70s and early 80s was Aaron Dudley.
Yep.
Yes.
And he was.
I'm glad you said him first. Yeah.
He was racing a late model at the time we was running late models, and we would go to a lot of races and pit beside each other, and he helped us a lot.
And he was a part of the '79 championship team,
yep.
And just a few guys that some of these same guys was on there.
I think it was Aaron was here until '91, and then he went on to do some other things. But yeah, he was a
great fabricator, body hanger.
Yeah.
and great friend.
Yes.
I mean, Aaron Dudley,
Yep.
great friend. All right, so another guy right along the same area. I'm not sure before or after. It doesn't really matter, but David Lovendahl,
Oh yeah, Dave.
who was tied in
Yeah.
with Mark Martin in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and then right up the road here, Dave had a little shop, and that's where Charlie Luck, which is our cousin-in-law,
Right.
they were involved in a race team there with the
Luck Stone.
yeah, but I'm trying to think what year that was. That was like
I don't
80,
know.
82.
It was
3.
early 80s.
Yeah.
Because it was a Busch car.
But Charlie ran for 2 years there with Dave Lovendahl.
And
as the
ran
crew
pretty
chief.
good at
Oh,
some
they
places.
did good. They did
And,
good.
and David was a real good organizer.
And Dave, we bought a chassis off him.
Yes, we did.
And later
For
on,
Lovendahl's
Dave worked with
job.
us with the truck outfit.
Yes,
When
and
we
he-
had the truck team.
And when Dave, he run the Bilstein truck for a while, and he would help us with setups and stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, he's a good friend of ours.
All right, there's one more name, and he's somewhere up there, but Joe Milliken, who worked here in the engine shop, who became a driver later on.
Joe came along in 1970s and worked through the Superbird days and the Hemis, and then he got into doing his sportsman
Gosh, it
racing.
might be late 60s.
It was. He
And
talks
then,
about
and
it.
then he
Because
influenced his
He
brothers.
worked after school, and then after he graduated, he come.
I got to tell a funny story about Joe.
But I was gonna say he influenced his brothers, and they helped local racers through the years. So
Bernie and Blue.
yep.
So a couple months ago, I was talking to our friend Robbie McLeod, who's a great fabricator,
Yes.
and I said, Joe, I said, he was my bus driver. And him and Bill both had a puzzled look, and they said, when did you ever have a bus? They was thinking it was a Prevost or
yeah.
Oh,
I was like, no, man, he was my school bus driver, Bluebird, flat nose, number 23. But them boys laughed so hard I thought it was going to wet their pants. But
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
well, but you take all those names right there, and then, like Richie said, they learned a little bit here. They learned where they went, and then they started being the teachers.
Exactly.
well, and they also, a lot of these guys had family members that were involved with racing, and I know Brad Dotson still is. He's a fabricator,
Yeah.
Barry's brother, and,
Well,
and John is the instructor.
Mike Bean's brother Scott.
yeah.
Yeah, and I actually worked with him at Stavolas
Yep.
when BA won the 88 500. So, man, it's been a heck
All
of a
right.
ride knowing all these guys.
Well, we're, and
Yep.
we're just getting to the mid '80s there, and there's people that came along afterwards
Oh yeah.
to the Petties. We could go on them, but we're just sticking with the early guys for right now, and we can do another episode on the later guys.
I guess we don't really have a cutoff point, do we?
we can just keep going.
Well,
But I was going to say what happened was in the early days, guys didn't leave. They stayed here. They worked for years. I mean, like Steve Mill was probably here for 7 or 8 years, and then everybody. But whenever the mid '80s and stuff, more teams would come on, more opportunities for people. People started spreading out,
Yeah.
and in the knowledge of what they learned here at the Petties, like you said, they went and taught it to other people.
Right. And,
And
then
so-
learn more stuff on
Right.
their own. Yeah.
And
Going
I
back-
guess I was going to say, in today's type racing, the Hendrick Motorsports is kind of what the Petties was now. Now you got all these guys
you,
coming out of
You
Hendrick.
didn't really want to go nowhere because you was
No,
happy.
right? Because it's the top of the top.
Well, and going back to the engine shop, I know we touched on that, but
Well,
you
we
had
can
to-
do a whole episode on engine guys.
I think we just need to stop.
Yeah.
And not that there's not really
yeah.
a bunch of good people
Go ahead.
there, but
If you want to make a
no, I was just gonna say you talking about lifelong people. From time I could remember, John Coble was here. I
Oh,
mean,
he
that was
definitely taught us a lot.
and then you had Frank Ruth that came, Rick Potter, which we've done a deal on.
Bruce Owens.
Bruce Owens was here for a lot of years.
I'm gonna tell you a guy that taught all of us was Stafford Wood in the machine shop and
Yeah.
Curtis
Curtis
Wright.
Wright.
Yeah, they taught us a lot.
Yeah, it's easy to forget the machine
I
guy
mean,
because they're back in their little area.
We're talking about people that went through Petty University and went on to do other things, but we are still students of Petty University. We're still learning from people.
We're alumni.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word, but yeah, no, that we learned so much out of every one of these guys.
So indebted to them.
And we were just kids, and I feel like we still kind of pass off some of the knowledge that we've learned.
Oh yeah, we still are.
Don't y'all?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I like the fact that the ones that are still alive and around, that we still get to see them every once in a while.
Hang out
You know,
with.
not as much, but it's pretty cool to see.
Well, I guess we can wrap it up right here. Daddy always told us, and grandfather was too, you surround yourself with good people and good things will happen. And these were certainly some of the good people that surrounded us. While
We should do a hats off.
Hats off to you. All
Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe and keep tuning in.